All right, fellas, one more week. One more week, and then this damn thing can be finally over, and we don't have to look at the Super Bowl or the Chief. The season is finally completely over, and we can move on. We've moved on to the off season. Ooh, shoot, what you drinking? What you drinking, BK?
Oh, beer.
Hold on, man. Hold on, man. Hold on. Hold on, man. You went and grabbed a beer. Do you generally pour your beers in those? Is that a stemless wine glass that you went with?
Yeah, man, it's great. It's a Pilsner. It's great.
Have a tulip handy, or
I'm about to say, man, you ain't got no. I gotta get you. We gotta get you a beer.
It's what I had available. It was ready to go.
What do you mean? You have something. You have. Tell me you have mugs.
You have had toddlers. You understand how much of your cabinet is overtaken by Bluey cups and Disney cups. I have one section. It is for my actual cups, my coffee cups, and two of these. And that's what I get.
No, you can't do that. You can't. You have got to keep humanity and keep you a section. Yes, I got all kinds of colorful cups and everything, but there is still a section up top where if I want to pull out an old margarita glass, I've got one. If I want to pull out the long beer, shout out to Justin Jenkins that has my initial engraved on it for being a groomsman in a wedding, I got it. It's a full beer one pouring in there. You just got lazy and you went and opened that cabinet. You just said to hell with it. I think you may have almost pulled out one of the sippy cups. You almost, because it was the closest grab, and you almost pulled out one of the sippy cups. Man, I'm telling you, Serda, I thought he had some sort of a Chardonnay. I was thinking, well, that's a little dark, but man, what is that? Is that
I thought that for a second too, because I noticed it was definitely a wine glass. No, that's beer.
But that looked like that looked like a Chardonnay for a second. Now that I know it's a Pilsner, I know it, but it looked like a Chardonnay.
I don't have any children, so I can't speak to the cabinet space, but I would imagine it's quite a bit. And I have a cabinet in my kitchen that is pretty much just beer glasses because I've collected a lot of them over the years.
I had at one point as well, and now they're in storage.
Now, Serda, if it comes down to it, you might have to get rid of 6 of them, but you have got to find you a space and keep it. And you say, listen, you're not taking this.
Ron, you know this. Of all people, I know you know this. There are fights that are worth fighting, and there are fights that are not.
No.
This is one I will choose not to.
If you keep just 2 of them, 2 of those beer glasses, just 2 of the mugs.
I got 2 of these, and this is all I need. I'm good, man.
She uses that as wine too. God, dog, man.
It's all purpose. All purpose.
All right. Hey, I know you guys will be, well, I don't know if you'll be honest. I don't know. I think you'll be honest, but it still may be us in the same vein. Is it me, or should the Chiefs just remain the favorites in the AFC going into next year? Like I'm watching this. Like I know some Chiefs fans are watching it in anger and thinking, why did this season fall apart the way it did? I'm not watching it in anger, but I am like the Patriots. I mean, they're good, and I'm guessing they're probably going to ascend and get better with this. But they all right. Like they're not like, whoa. This ain't a deal of like, oh boy, they are coming. Like here they go. Like when the Eagles won the championship last year, there's the thought of like, hey, they might be a problem for a while. I don't feel that way. Denver, stop it. I don't feel like they're getting lucked out because that thing turned into Tim Allen and the Santa Claus globe out in that game, but they still would have stunk. They're still not there. They're not impressive. Buffalo and Baltimore obviously bringing in new coaches, and I know Joe Brady was there, but there's still going to be some changes there. And then you just got the Chiefs, who somehow slips themselves into a top 10 pick which means their second round pick is pretty high too, and their other picks. And they had some injury stuff. They are motivated and committed. I don't know what team that we can look at and say, yo, this is this team's better than the Chiefs next year. I don't see how that can. I don't see that team.
I've got the odds in front of me. You want to guess who the favorite is right now to come out of the AFC? This is according to DraftKings Sportsbook. You want to guess the odds for next year, favorite to win the AFC?
I bet it's I think it's one of the big three. I bet it's Buffalo, Kansas City, or Baltimore.
So two of those three are among the top three.
Is Buffalo the number? Is it Buffalo?
Buffalo's the favorite. They're 11-1 to win next year's Super Bowl. The Ravens are 13-1. The Patriots are also 13-1. And then it's the Chiefs and the Chargers at 15-1 to win the Super Bowl next year. So the Chiefs are tied for the fifth best odds to come out of the AFC next season, according to DraftKings Sportsbook right now. I agree with you, though. I don't look at it I think it is more likely, and I know this might sound crazy right now because we're watching them preparing to play in the Super Bowl. I think it is as likely next year that the Patriots miss the playoffs as it is that they reach the Super Bowl again. I view their schedule as being a huge influence as to how they have reached this point. I think their defense got hot at the exact right time for them to get through what is a relatively weak AFC this postseason. And this is not to denigrate anything they've accomplished. Hey, man, they earned it. Just like Joe Burrow and the Bengals earned it a few years ago. But guess what? They haven't been back. And I think that happens more often than we expect it to for teams not named the Chiefs or the Patriots. So I totally agree with you. I think the Pats could easily end up disappointing next season relative to these expectations that are going to be placed upon them.
Serda and BK, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but just think of the top four seeds. New England, Denver, New England, Jacksonville, and Pittsburgh. Would you be surprised if all of them missed the playoffs next year? Is that obviously coming into this year, I wouldn't have thought that the Chiefs and the Ravens were going to miss. But is it out of the realm of possibility that Pittsburgh, Jacksonville, New England, and Denver missed the playoffs? Is it out of the realm?
Yeah, I mean Pittsburgh for sure. I think Jacksonville is getting better. I think that they've got talent. And
Jacksonville's the one. I'm with you. Jacksonville
is a
good
team, or a good coach, and then I think the Broncos are good, and I do think that Bo Nix, later in the year, was better than I was giving him credit for earlier in the season. But defense year over year, that team is going to be heavily reliant on their defense, and defense is really hard to bank on year after year, being just dominant like that. And then I think the Patriots are really young. I think they're talented. I think Drake May is a superstar quarterback, and so they're going to keep getting better, and they just blew the expectations absolutely out of the water this season. The Buffalo situation is kind of crazy because I think Joe Brady is a fine offensive coordinator, but there's nothing special about him, and their whole front office situation it just totally feels like they're going to go into this draft and Brandon Beane's going to be desperate to prove something. And I just feel like that always winds up blowing up in your organization's face. So it's going to be fascinating to see what happens with them. And I think the Chargers are kind of scary, honestly. If that offensive line's healthy and they stay healthy next season for the first time ever, they're a good football team and they're going to be a tough football team. But I do think that this is such a weird year in the AFC, especially that nothing from this season is guaranteed to carry over into next season in any way.
The way I would answer that question, Ron, I would not be surprised if any of them miss the playoffs next season. I would be surprised if all of them miss the playoffs next season.
Because I can see all of them take a step back.
Absolutely.
And then if you take a step back in the AFC, that can be dicey, right? Houston and the Colts. We'll see what happens with the Colts, but they're in that division.
I think there are 4 teams in the AFC that will go into the season next year not expecting to make it to the playoffs. That's it. Which means there are 11 teams 11 or 12 that at least have hopes of getting there. The only teams that feel like they're going to be out of it going into the season, I think, are Miami, the Jets, the Browns, the Raiders, and then I think if you're a Titans fan, you could convince yourself that you have that, like, the idea of what the Patriots were this past season, where, hey, second-year quarterback makes a big jump, a competent NFL head coach comes in and secures his side of the ball, which is the defense, and you have this bump with a bunch of talent being incorporated around that second-year quarterback. If you're a Titans fan, I see how you would believe in that. I don't necessarily, but I could see how you would talk yourself into it.
Yeah, you just the division is a little
absolutely. We would have said the same thing though about the AFC East before the season.
Yeah, I would have said though you got the Jets and the Dolphins. Like they didn't feel like it could have gone either way. Fair. But yeah, but no, I'm with you on that. But I'm just saying you could see, like you said, like I feel like I know the Chiefs are probably going to be better next year. I think the Chargers, who are in the playoffs, are probably going to be better next year. I think the Ravens are probably going to be better next year. I think the Bengals are probably going to be better next year. I just think there are teams. Now, I'm not saying those teams are going to all be great, but I think they're going to be improved just if they get a better hand due to health. All of those teams, I think they're going to be better, not to mention improvement. So I don't know, but I still look at this and you're like, if Patrick Mahomes is back with any kind of relative, like if we're not talking a half a season, which I don't think we are, he's up here talking about week 1, and you know that they have ammunition to fix their issues. It's hard. Like Buffalo, come on, man. We still got to see them be able to fix their issues. I believe they're in trending up them Baltimore because you know the health of Lamar, you know the health of Josh. But I don't know, boy. It seems to be. It almost seems to be less competition in the AFC, or at least not less competition, but not as many great teams that the Chiefs may have to negotiate through than it was the last time they were in the Super Bowl. We'll see. We'll see what Buffalo does. We'll see what other teams do. All right, Eric Bieniemy spoke for the first time this week. A couple of things that I want to touch on this is how we feel about that look.
The beard?
It's the beard.
It's spectacular.
You do. I don't know. Do we need to tame it a little bit? Like that's like you think it feels a tad aggressive. It feels, you know what?
I do feel like Lovie Smith did that in Houston and it didn't work out very well.
It feels running back coach. I think we've got to come down. Just tame it. And I think like if he just tamed it and kind of just shaped it up, now we're maybe coordinator look. I would
almost go the opposite. I think you've got to keep it going. I think right now he's in
just get aggressive with it.
He's in the midpoint. I think you just keep letting it go, and then you'll have something that you're really proud to show off.
Oh, I don't know. I don't think that's the move. I'm not saying cut it all the way off. I just think look, yours is more tamed. Mine's tomorrow will be more tamed. But just his looks like he looks like he's been through it for several years, and he's just said, "This is my protest, and I'm just letting this go, and nobody's gonna stop me." And now, like he's back, and let's let it ride. That's the first thing. By the way, second, I don't know about you all, there was nothing that was said in that I didn't think was going to be said. I think for people who are excited, he gave the thing. And obviously, as we talked about last week, everybody latched on to, we will be disciplined and there will be a standard about everything we're doing. and all of these things. He talked about a lot of things, but there was nothing surprising at all to me in what he had to say. The thing to me, because we've talked about Eric for the past couple of pods, because we're trying to see who their OC was going to be, and they've hired him. The thing to me that I want to throw out to you all is, do you think there is a way that EB? I love when he goes in third person, because EB's just going to have to be EB. That's something I can respect the hell out of, to just take yourself into third person. But do you think there is anything that can be done while he is the OC in this second stint that could put him back into the mix of being considered a serious candidate? When I say considered a serious candidate, like he's getting interviews and not just let's meet the Rooney Rule, but getting interviews. Like, do you think Todd Monken just got a damn job in Cleveland. He badmouthed the organization the last time he was a coach there. Now all of a sudden they've given him the keys, right? And he ended the season, said his relationship with Lamar wasn't good enough, and that he didn't get the best out of him. But Cleveland went ahead and scooped his ass up. Like, I just like, do you don't get a sense that he can do anything to make people look at him differently? Nothing can happen.
I think there's one scenario in which it could happen, and I don't think it's a scenario in which he should necessarily take the job. Daddy. Ron, you were covering a team that made a hire that was kind of similar to what I think could happen for Eric Bieniemy, and that was David Kiley when he was hired with the Houston Texans. It was basically
only way.
It was basically a hire where you knew the moment that he took the job, he's getting this job to be fired. They're giving him this job because they didn't want to hire somebody that they would have had to pay real money to fire in 2 years, because they know this is a dead-end job. There's no winning right now, and they're going to wait for the next guy to be able to take over when they're in a situation where they can do some amount of winning, but there's no reason to put the stench of this losing onto him. So let's go ahead and hire somebody that's willing to take the job because they're never going to have a chance otherwise. That's the opportunity that could exist at some point for Eric Bieniemy. But like, is there a legitimate opportunity where he could go on to have success and there will be other candidates that want the job where Bieniemy will be at or near the top of the list? No, man, I think those days are, unfortunately for him, over. And I think a lot of that has to do with how poorly, justified or otherwise, how poorly things went when he got his opportunity both with Washington and UCLA.
I'll just say this, Serda. I think, and BK, I think things are kind of different this go around from the first time, because if they improve, and this offense gets better, I think there's a clear sign. There's a clear sign that, oh man, Eric Bieniemy had something to do with this. Right. That like before, it was he always had to deal with this is Andy's offense. This is just Andy. This is just Andy. This is not something that this is not something that he'll have to deal with. I think people will look at him even more of like, wow, all right, this offense has gotten back on track, and this is due to Andy or I'm due to Eric. And he will get, especially if the run game, which was so horrid, if this offense starts to, he'll get some action. I think at least some credit for that. And if that occurs and, it feels like he's more of an impact, I feel like he's at least getting interviews again. Real interviews again. At this point, right now, he can't get OC interviews except for one place. Right. And I mean, and so that to me, if that was the thing that I'm looking at, is Todd Monken got a job. Brian Schottenheimer, somehow nobody ever considered to be a head coach candidate. He got him a job in Dallas. Is there a way that he can parlay this into an opportunity where he gets back into it to be he's only 56 to be a candidate?
Yeah. I mean, I would like to think so. especially if the Chiefs just all of a sudden have like the number one offense in the NFL next season. But I mean, he was the offensive coordinator for some really good offenses already. And then, he goes to Washington and isn't in a good situation and then has to bounce around after that without getting any serious consideration. Like, Matt Nagy essentially got fired by the Chiefs and was getting head coaching interviews, like real ones. Like people thought.
Yeah, that's right. That's a good point.
Of the Tennessee Titans.
Can he pull that off? Can he pull the Matt Nagy off?
I just don't know if he can. And I'm not saying he's not deserving of it. I think he absolutely is. And I just don't understand why he never got the serious consideration in the first place. But I just feel like this could be the kind of thing where it's like if the Chiefs offense looks really good again and it bounces back, like this could be like a Spags thing where it's just like Bieniemy is your OC until he decides he's not your OC, or you have a really bad season or something and decide to change things up.
Well,
so
you said it.
I have
you
a
said
thought
it
on this real quick.
You said it, BK. You said it last week. He feels like he could even be a better like CEO, like a person that is the overseer almost more than a play caller. I'm with you. Maybe play calling and play designing is not his best suit, but there is he does have the leader of men quality. Like that part clears. I mean, I think that's a big part of what got him here. You're the best players on the world are Travis Kelce and Mahomes are begging for his style. So I think he does have that part that works with him.
I agree. And I think there's value in that. I am also not sure how it plays with an owner. And I think that's where things get interesting, because I think the same reason that he is a good fit for this job and Matt Nagy was not, those are, strangely enough, the opposite qualities of what would appeal to them to other teams when they're interviewing with prospective owners. So like Matt Nagy seems to be a good hang. Seems like a dude that you just like want to kind of be around, your buddies. He doesn't necessarily take things too seriously, just a good hang. And I'm not sure that's what this team needs right now as the offensive coordinator. I think they need somebody that is a little bit more disciplinarian. That is what Eric Bieniemy brings to the table. We've heard that a million different times. It may not be the only quality that he brings to the table. It's maybe the most important thing, though, for what the Chiefs need right now. When you get into an interview with another owner, though, I think a lot of those owners are looking for the guy that's a good hang, that they can see themselves as like the face of the franchise, right? And I think it's easier to see that for a lot of these owners. Again, right or wrong, I'm not sharing whether or not this is my opinion on the matter, just how an owner may feel. I think a lot of those owners look at it and say, we like this guy more than Eric Bieniemy. And that leads to him not being the candidate that we all thought he was going to be. And then now I think not being a candidate really at all.
No, that is, but even to that point, I wonder, that's him getting in the door. Like right now, he's not getting interviewed. You know what I mean? And it's not a surprise. He's the Bears running back coach, right? Hell, they're interviewing Nate Shieldhouse. He's a passing game quarter. They're interviewing who the hell is it just played? Davis Webb. They're interviewing him for head coaching gigs. Like, and I'm with you. I think that is a point. I think owners have a hard time relating to him and seeing, and then maybe that's it. But I just wonder, does he get himself a chance to even get his foot in the door again? That's where, because his foot's not even in the door right now, and this is the only place, and that is his saving grace. The last time, nobody ever thought to give him credit, and now he is coming into an offense that needs some fixing or something. And like, if that run game improves and Patrick Mahomes goes back to looking like he did when he was last year, it would be crazy to me to think that people wouldn't at least listen to him and hear him. By the way, as we get past, speaking of the position that he is known for, I am coming to the conclusion that I'm just going to have to accept and start to mentally prepare for what Serda keeps calling as. Well, I think it will be fun. I feel like I'm gonna have to start mentally preparing for Jeremiah Love at the 9 spot because I've seen Bucky Brooks, Mel Kiper piss me off last week with it. I've seen Todd McShay. Everybody I'm seeing, Jeremiah Love at 9 to Kansas City. I don't love it. I think there are about 4 or 7 other positions that the Chiefs could really use to get a pick to use that number 9 pick on. I don't love it, but too many people are saying, "Yep, this is where it is," and I guess I'm just gonna have to mentally prepare myself.
I struggle with this, Ron, for a million different reasons. Like I could convince myself it'll work. I can convince myself that you look around the league right now and you view the teams that are having success, almost all of them have a running game that is a hell of a lot more successful than what the Chiefs have had. Like I get the case for drafting Jeremiah Love at number 9, but it's the process to get there that I struggle with most. We know how Brett Veach, generally speaking, operates in the offseason. He wants to have a team assembled by the draft that if you put that team out on opening night, it would be able to play a football game and you don't have to squint to believe that they're good at basically all 22 starting positions, right? Think about last year. They went into the draft and they didn't assume that Josh Simmons was going to be there at 31 overall. They went into it with an answer at the left tackle position that they would have been okay with had they needed to start him on opening night. And they paid him handsomely to then be the highest paid swing tackle in the league. So fast forward to this offseason. The draft comes after free agency. They will not have an answer on free agency whether or not Jeremiah Love will be there at 9, because that is also an open-ended question. It's entirely possible Jeremiah Love goes in the top 8. The only way in that scenario that you could really guarantee his services is if you're willing to trade up for Jeremiah Love. That would be crazy. Please do not do that, Brett Veach. Do not trade more assets to go get this running back that you apparently need so desperately. So what he's probably going to do is sign one of the free agent running backs that are out there. We've discussed them all. We don't have to go through all of them again. Kenneth Gainwell being one, but you know the other names as well. Ron wasn't paying attention. Otherwise, he would have responded to that. So are they just going to like sign Tyler Algier and then have $9 million going to their backup running back on opening night? That's what we think they're going to do. And their number 9 overall selection is going to be splitting 50% of the snaps for the first year or two of his career here in Kansas City. I don't know that makes sense, Ron. So that's where I really struggle with this is what is the process that gets you to the draft that then leaves the running back position so depleted that it is necessary for you to draft one at number 9 overall? I don't know how you get there.
Yeah, that like what they do will show a lot. Like what they do to prepare themselves, like the example you get, and clearly, obviously, if they go get somebody in that position, like they did get a tackle, that doesn't mean obviously last year, that doesn't mean they won't draft it. But I'll be even more shocked if they spent any kind of free agent money and then on top of it drafted a back at 9. Like I would be shocked. I mean, I think that position needs to improve, but that would be a little bit of an overkill.
But Ron, they have to spend money at the position. Like they can't go into the draft not having an answer there, right?
Yeah, but I'm talking like it would be depending on the type of guy they got.
But what's the worst they can do? Because you can't assume that Jeremiah Love is going to be there at 9, and then you can't assume that the guy you select, in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, whatever round is going to be a starter on opening night. Like they probably need to come out of free agency with one of Breece Hall, Kenneth Walker, Rashad White, Javonte Williams, Kenneth Gainwell plus one of those guys, Tyler Algier. Like you need at least one, maybe 2 of those guys to be on the roster by opening day, right?
And I let the Gainwell slide the first time.
I'd be thrilled with Kenneth Walker. in free agency.
Yeah, I was going to say but some of those aren't the same though, right? Like,
I mean, they're all probably getting what, $8 to $10 million?
yeah, but I mean, well, I don't think no.
If you draft
Not
a
all
running
of them are
back,
getting
like
that.
we've seen so many good running backs in the second round. Take it with the second round pick. I'm fine with that. Like, it's just the number 9 overall pick. Like, I don't think Ruben Bain's going to be there at 9, probably.
Now, I'm just saying,
but it's like you need Jeremiah Love to be like Adrian Peterson for me to like be happy with the pick at number 9.
which he's never going to be because he's not going to get that many carries. But it would depend. Like if they come into the draft and White or Gainwell are the signings. I'm trying to think who else you said in there. Because there were some that aren't
Rico Dowdle, Tyler Algier.
Tyler Algier, I'll put in that. If those 3 guys are the guys, then I can see them still looking for a big time, maybe not a big time, but more of a, hey, man, we want you to play right away and get big time snaps type of back. If they go in with Kenneth Walker or Breece Hall or hell, even Javonte Williams or the kid from Jacksonville,
Etienne.
Travis Etienne, if they get one of those guys, they're not drafting Jeremiah Love. Like that is a starter that you're going to pay money to, and then maybe you get somebody in the 3rd or 4th round. If they were to bring it, it will depend on the type of player. Yeah, they're going to spend money. It will depend on the type of running back. If they get Breece Hall and then draft Jeremiah Love, well, that's insane.
Yeah, I guess maybe this is where I struggle with it most. I think they need to get one of those guys. Like, I think this team is in a desperate position to land one of the premier running backs on the market this offseason. And that does not mean it has to be go out and sign Breece Hall for $15 million a year. Kenneth Walker, I'm really curious to see what happens with him now that they've got the Charbonnet situation. I wonder if they just franchise tag him and he's not even available on the market, which then means there's less supply and there's still a pretty significant demand. And all of these other teams are watching what we are, which is the league trending in a new direction where running backs are once again, maybe not valued to the same degree as wide receivers, but valued nonetheless. So are we going to see a bit of a boost and the demand for these running backs this offseason? And what's that going to mean for the salaries? Like, what's Javonte Williams going to command? Is he going to be a $8 million a year guy?
Probably not the 1 year, $3 million he signed for last year.
I wouldn't think so. I think Travis Etienne is probably going to be commanding somewhere in the similar range. Rico Dowdle, he got $3 million previously. I would imagine he's more of like a $7 to $10 million back. So Tyler Algier, I know what Spot Rack says his value is. I don't think he's going to sign for $2 million somewhere. I think he's going to be more in that 7-ish, maybe $9 million range. So I don't think you're getting a cheap answer at that position. I think it's going to cost you, real money, like number 3 defensive end money, number 3, like the kind of money that you gave to your marquee cornerback signing last offseason. I think that's the kind of money you're probably anticipating signing a running back for this year. If you're doing that, I think it would be crazy to then also go spend, I think it's like $8 million per year for the number 9 overall selection in Jeremiah Love. That's just way too much investment to me at the running back position.
And by the way, please like and subscribe, sir. I can't go with that. You're on YouTube. Please hit that like and subscribe button now. Don't be selfish. That's just too much.
I'd be okay with Travis Etienne too, because
I'll be good and turned on.
But and Kenneth Walker, I think the way the Seahawks manage him this season, if you're a fantasy owner or something, it's frustrating because Zach Charbonnet, he was in a split backfield, but it was the first season in Kenneth Walker's career that he stayed healthy for a full regular season because they limited his touches. So I think Kenneth Walker and Etienne are kind of perfect backs for the Chiefs because they're not going to bring Kenneth Walker in here to touch the ball 20 times a game. Travis Etienne's not a huge running back, but he can catch passes and he is explosive. You give him, 12 to 15 touches a game, mix him in the passing game. he could be a really good complement out of the backfield for the Chiefs passing attack. And Kenneth Walker's just explosive as hell, and he's a super fun running back, but he's had some injury problems. But I do think that that's going to be the cost of doing business. So then, but I also do think that like the Chiefs are going to have to be willing to pay that or invest like a second round pick into the running back position, because what they've been doing for so long just has fallen so far from like being good enough that like I think Chiefs fans do genuinely want to see them make a significant investment in that position. And it would be nice to see Patrick Mahomes actually have like a really good explosive running back that defenses have to account for. It just seems like it's going to cost one way or the other. And so instead of spending a bunch of money on the free agent market or burning your number 9 overall pick, I'm just saying, let's use the second or third round pick on a running back and stop dicking around and picking running backs in the 7th round.
Yeah, but I also believe that is and get a veteran. Like I think you have to do both, right? I just don't think it has to be get a veteran and then use number 9 on it. Like if they got Dowdle, I'd be good. I think they can find another back in a second or third round to complement him for what it is that your team is going to be. Again, as you said, Serda, they're not in a need for Adrian Peterson. That's not what this team needs. They don't need that. What Seattle's out there doing, yeah, that and they don't even run it that much. What the Rams are out there doing with their little 1-2 punch, that's more or less what they're looking for. Like that, like that just doesn't make. I would rather them trade back if they've already addressed. And I'm with you, BK. There's no way that I can see them not having a bona fide plan for somebody that we've gone through free agency and left themselves with. This is what we're going to do at the running back spot. We're blown up there. Like it's just too easy to get these guys under $8-9 million that could be what they need.
So I've got the projections from Pro Football Focus on what they think these contracts are going to be for the running backs. By the way, I also have the number 9 overall pick last year. It was a 4-year deal for $27 million. So if you're selecting number 9 this year, you're talking about $7 million per year for whoever you take there, regardless of position. So keep that in mind as we're talking about who the Chiefs take there. That's the contracts they get regardless of position. It's basically slotted. So you're talking about paying Jeremiah Love in this scenario $7 million a year for 4 years. It's all fully guaranteed if that's the direction you decide to go. As for the free agents on the market, Pro Football Focus has Breece Hall as the top paid guy, 3 years, $37 million, so about 12 a year. Kenneth Walker, 3 years, $27 million, so 9 a year. ETN, 3 years, $35 million. Dowdle, 3 years, $27 mil. Algier, 2 years, 18. Javonte, 3 years, 23. The cheap guys are Rashad White and J.K. Dobbins, both at about 5 to 5.5 per year. So it's going to cost you. If you want to go into this market and you want to get one of these free agent running backs for a team that has very little room to maneuver this offseason, they're going to have to spend real capital to upgrade at the position from what they had last year with Isaiah Pacheco. I don't know how you do that and then also take a running back at number 9 overall and think that you left the offseason not leaving yourself way too thin at one of these other positions that are meaningful, that maybe will impact you even more. I don't see the path for them taking Jeremiah Love at number 9 and also feeling good about the running back position going into draft night. So they're going to have to either leave themselves completely wide open at the position and just run the gambit of, hey, either Jeremiah Love is there at 9 or we get a starter later in the draft, or they have the position fixed and they know going into the draft, we're not taking Jeremiah Love. We're just not one of the teams that they can do it. You're going to know by draft night what their plan is on that, in my opinion.
And if they have signed let's say Rico Dowdle, if they've signed him and they're sitting there at 9 and like Caleb Downs is still there and one of those receivers is still there, there's a pass rusher lurking there, and they go with Love. That's problematic for me, and I don't get a sense they were going to do that. All right, before we roll out of here, see, that's my thought is, man, for me to hell with Jeremiah Love. I would love to be able to sit there at 9 and have one of those top edge rushers come to you, but I think it is. You know how I feel. I think it's so important to get one of those guys in this rush, because that is, to me, clearly the number one. That for me, the number. It talks about running backs and stuff. The number one thing is they have got, and I think particular edge, they have got to get somebody on that defensive line that can be a help. And it's really almost not just immediate, but a future play, because nobody more than Serda in Kansas City media has talked about what's the plan after Chris Jones? What's the plan going to be moving forward? And that plan is not just at D tackle. It's just like, what would happen if Chris Jones wasn't there to the pass rush? It's a problem. So they've got to fix that. And to me, that is the big key right here.
So I think they need to take a defensive end. I think they need to upgrade the position. I'm in full agreement with you there, Ron. I do have some concerns about how much that's going to be an instant upgrade, though. I was thinking about this earlier today, and I think I'm going to write a piece on it for Arrowhead Pride. The idea of taking Ruben Bain at 9 overall is incredibly intriguing, more so to me for what it means for the future than for the right now. Yeah. So I looked into this. If you're looking at over the last 15 years, defensive linemen that were selected in that 6 to 15 range, so not top 5 overall selections, you're getting rid of like the creme de la creme, the guys that, were legit future all pros. Everybody knew it going into the draft. You're talking more the range the Chiefs are drafting in, 6 to 15. In the last 15 years, there have been 38 defensive linemen that have been drafted in that range. Among those 38 defensive linemen, a total of 3 of them had at least 8 sacks in their rookie season. Only 6 of them had at least 6 sacks in their rookie season. The entire list in that 15-year span, Micah Parsons, who had 13, Aaron Donald, who had 9, and then Bruce Irvin had 8, Leonard Floyd had 7, DeForest Buckner and Jalen Carter both had 6. So there's a couple of defensive tackles, 3 defensive tackles, 3 defensive ends on that list. Otherwise, everybody else, including, really good players, J.J. Watt, Jason Pierre-Paul, guys that went on to have highly productive NFL careers, they just didn't produce in their first NFL seasons because it's really hard to do so early on in your career. I do wonder if Chiefs fans are maybe asking a little too much out of a rookie defensive end to come in and change the way that your defense looks based upon their performance in year one. If you want somebody that's going to come in, strangely enough, after what we just talked about, if you want somebody to come in and immediately contribute, that guy's Jeremiah Love. Like a wide receiver, a running back, they can come in. We've seen it a million different times. They can completely change the outlook for the offense. A cornerback, they can come in and boom, year one, they're ready to go. Defensive ends, man, it takes some time typically for them to translate to the NFL level. And I would be a little concerned if they're expecting too much from that position from a guy who's 22, 23 years old.
Well, unless they can pull a James Pierce. He wasn't in that range you're talking about, but he's a guy that got 10.5 sacks last year, near the 20s for the Falcons. The line player, the tougher positions to try to get immediate, because you're going up against grown men, and you want to hopefully get to a point where you're looking at there, you're like Seattle, and Byron Murphy has turned into what he has turned into. Maybe he wasn't that big at first, but he turned it. Like, to me, it's just, can you be somebody that we're looking at to build up to be somebody that can get pressure, be somebody that, like, not immediately walking in day one expecting it, right? Can we work our way up into like the 5 sack range in one? That's why, to me, it's always been, for me, yes, they've got to get somebody in the draft to rush the passer. And you're at 9, to me, that is the priority. But it's also, for next year's got to be got to be paired with another veteran that you know what you're going to get, right? Much like I think we're talking about running back. I think that the edge and defense and pass rush overall is very similar to that. I think that they need to have a bona fide veteran pass rusher. And when I say bona fide pet, I'm not talking about Hendrickson. They need to have somebody in which they know what they're going to get. Somebody that they know can apply, can be effective in beating one-on-ones. Right. I think they need to bring that in and add in the draft to me with a high quality pick. And I think that's how it can't be just that person being the expectation. They've got to bring other people along with it and veterans that they know what they're going to get out of.
Honestly, Byron Murphy is like the perfect example of what I'm talking about. He's an excellent football player. That guy's awesome. He's a rock star, and he has completely changed this year the look of the Seahawks defense. But it took him a full year of development. Last year, he had half a sack. And this year, he's at 7. So you're taking that guy more for next year than for this year. They can change what your team is going to be. It just may take a little bit of time. I'm very curious to see the way the Chiefs go about this and how they want to change the look of their defense. And then if you look at the Seahawks, the other piece of this, Ron, man, they are such a deep defensive line. They have guys in the interior that are studs. They've got Byron Murphy. They've got Leonard Williams. They paid Williams. They drafted Murphy in the first round. But beyond that, man, it's Derek Hall, who was a second-round pick. It's Boye Mafe, second-round pick. Nwosu, DeMarcus Lawrence. They go legitimately 6 deep, 7 deep on that defensive line. And that is something that the Chiefs used to do. But right now, they are incredibly thin. They do not have the depth among their defensive line. I would be more interested this offseason in adding, I know this is not a sexy way to go about it, but I think they desperately need to add depth along their defensive line with some of those veterans that you're talking with. Go get Draymond Jones. Go get guys that are going to be in that $4 to $7 million range. Add 2 or 3 of them if you can make it work money-wise. And I'd rather see that than going out and adding one dude that you think is going to really change things for you.
But my thing is, like, they had a bunch of veterans, but DeMarcus Lawrence was that one where you felt like, all right, he's not, Max Crosby or Will Anderson or Danielle Hunter, but he's somebody that I know can be disruptive, and maybe he's in the 7 to 8 to 9 sack range, but I know what he's going to do. And I've already got Leonard Williams, who is my stud. And then hopefully Byron Murphy is coming on. He's my stud, but I know what I'm going to get. Like the Chiefs are hopeful that they have that in George on one side and he plays better. Like George is that type of guy where, like, before last year, and really, to be honest with you, George probably was close to it. Like, I could probably feel good about George is probably going to be in the 8 sack range. And if it goes pretty good, maybe he gets to double digits to 10. But he was just kind of missing in action, maybe the hand injury. I don't know, certain things that gave him problems. But I think they got to get that type of guy. And I don't know if it's Owe, he's a free agent. Hassan Reddick is out there. I'm not. But they've got to get somebody to me to go along with that. That's less of a hope or a he could. If he does, like, this is what I know he is going to do. And then the rookie can come along with Chris Jones. Because right now, boy, Mike Dana, like, it was just over. And Charles Omenihu, it was just over for those guys.
How would you feel if the answer to that question was like AJ Epinesa? Defensive end from the Bills, most years for them was in that like 6 to 7 sack range. This year was a down year for him, but spent most of his career there as a guy that was a pretty consistent starter. He's got the size that Spags likes. Like, how would you feel if that was the answer as one of those defensive ends?
I wouldn't hate it to go, but that is if you're also getting like one of the Baileys or Bain or
sure,
Reuben, like, to go along with that. I would not hate that.
And then next year you've got George, you've got Epinesa, and you've got Ruben Bain, and that's your defensive end rotation out there.
Yeah, and I like in the hopes that you can get a little bit more out of him, and maybe he is somebody that has a better shot at winning one-on-ones or through the blitz. Yeah, so I mean that's close. I mean, it's not quite DeMarcus Lawrence, but that is something at least that you can kind of depend on, right? It's just I know what Chiefs fans are thinking. It's been a long time, with the exception of Chris Jones, that they just have a guy that put his hand down and can just bam immediately come around the corner and impact that. And it's been a minute since they've seen that. It seems like, because of how they deal with Chris, like they get a lot of work sacks, coverage sacks, works, bull rush, keep going, not giving up, and not just coming around the corner and bam. Like you're just not seeing that a lot from this group. So hopefully they can add something like that. We are out.